Welcome to the Regular Guys podcast, brought to you by 365 Athletic, with your hosts Zeke Prado, Gary Orona, Jude, Oliva, coming to you live from La Mirada. Let's go.
You ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Hey, welcome to the Regular Guys. This is your host Zeke Prado, along with
Jude, Oliva,
Gary Orona,
and our special guest
Jay Stevens. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Again, we're the Regular Guys, interviewing regular guys that do extraordinary things, I think. Right?
Okay. I'll agree.
We'll agree. Do you concur? I concur.
Yes, I do, sir.
And as always, we want to get started with a little small talk, right? We'll talk some football, Thanksgiving dinner.
Still recovering.
Just kind of get started here. Watch any good games, Jay?
My Huskies came back from life support last night. I was watching that. Washington Huskies versus Utah, down 21-0 at halftime. Came back 24-21 win. My buddy Todd Eldridge left the house a little bit early. But
Counting his tickets.
It was a terrible first half. Great. I would love to hear that halftime speech. Man.
Yeah. Was it foggy? Was it a foggy game like the Oregon State game?
It was cold.
No,
it was cold, but no fog issues, no rain issues. It was a clean night for
Utah played
Seattle.
better than they did the week before, correct?
Oh yeah.
I didn't see the game.
Did you see the game?
I didn't see the game. I saw a couple of the highlights though, and obviously, through social media, some of the kids that are a little bit involved in the area that are tied to got to watch Clarks Phillips. True freshman corner out of La Habra, California, had a pretty solid night against the Huskies. A couple of tackles for losses, pressures, a couple pass breakups. I was under the impression they won because all the highlights, and then like you said, boom! Before you know it, the tide switches, and the Huskies come out on top, which was a pretty cool game. Sounds like.
What's great is you're watching 4 running backs for University of Washington, all from Southern California down here. You got Bosco represented, you got a few other schools, but all Southern California running backs up there doing their thing. And it's awesome to watch.
All right. We were talking earlier before we got started that Thomas Ford is coaching at Washington. Thomas Ford played at Linfield. Linfield's where Brady, and Andrews, and Eric Crom, and Eric Green all played down at Linfield together. Thomas Ford was on that national championship team for Linfield. And so, he was a head coach at Simon Fraser for, I think, about 4 seasons before he went to Washington. So, it's cool. We talk about, the connections and how, college football. Yeah, college football is a network and intertwines you. So, and then you talk about some players that are from here, that are there. That all football is that common denominator for a lot of us, right? And so we were also talking about Utah because they played yesterday.
You got a lot of California kids.
There are a lot of Kyle Whittingham, a lot of California guys, right? And I didn't watch the game. I didn't have a chance to see any highlights either. Did you check it out?
Washington?
The Utah,
Washington. No, just the highlights, like you said. Just got to see those clips, and then got to see again as those highlights are happening, have those parents uploading their stuff on social media. So I was under the impression that I was like, hey, Utah finally got to
taking it to them,
and then I get home and see the score. I was like, hey, what happened? Thought they won, but it sounded like
21-0. You would think they put them away.
You need to cover that tight end.
Utah uses a tight end.
No, Washington. They always have good tight ends.
Yeah.
No, like you said, Washington, I think a lot, well, in general now, you look at in the Pac-12, a lot of the schools from the north are doing a great job of coming down into Southern California and taking some of the top athletes from here. Washington does a great job of that. Oregon's littered with Southern California talent. Oregon State has quite a few guys from California. So you see some of those teams and their success, and you're like, you're looking at it and you're like, wow, well, most of it's coming from California. Wonder, again, a little knock on my guys, but what is UCLA and USC doing?
Yeah.
Losing those guys. We should never lose those guys to anyone else, but it's happening, and you see the team starting to rise and really do a good job. So it's pretty cool to see, though.
Yeah.
UCLA won last night, though.
Yeah, it was well overdue, I think.
And you had a kid also.
Who had the game-winning interception?
Game-sealing interception. Elijah Gates played for us at Buena Park. Great young man, real humble kid. 2-year starter for them, and got his chance last night. I think he was playing nickel. He was playing the nickel back spot. I think they tried to run like stick or something, and he jumped it. The quarterback read it wrong. He jumped it. I am going to give him some stuff, though, when I get an opportunity, because he should have kept his feet and should have been a pick six. But, we're happy with the game-sealing interception. But cool to see him make a play and start his season off right this year.
Yeah, UCLA. I'm a SoCal guy, so every time everybody asks me, hey, what's your team? I have to say USC and UCLA both. I got to be loyal to both of them. And that's because UCLA used to give us free tickets when we were kids.
Now they're paying people.
I thought you guys snuck in.
And they used to put us behind the field goal post. That was the free seats, right? You had all the Pop Warner kids right there behind the field goal at a UCLA game. That's when I first saw Peyton Manning.
Yep, we did.
You were there. Peyton Manning, he took over that game. He threw an ugly ball, but man, it was he came back and won. I don't know the final, but I know they came back and won that game. And they actually showed a highlight the other day when they were talking about Peyton Manning. They showed that game.
It was probably the one when they were coming into the end zone. We were sitting right when they hit him on, like, I want to say it was a post or slant or something like that. We're in the back of the end zone there. Hopefully we're on camera there.
The little peanuts up there in the stands.
Yeah, I watched Pac-12. I watched the Oregon State game. Oh man, they've been chomping at the bit to win that game. It has a new name now. It's no longer the
Civil War.
No longer the Civil War. I don't know what they call it now. I don't think they've switched it, but they had like
North versus South.
Something. But it was a great game, man. It went down to the wire. And
didn't they score with like 3 seconds to go?
Oregon State. I think there was more time on the clock. There was a dispute at the end of it of when they called timeout or if he actually got into the end zone, and so there's about 40 seconds left for Oregon to try and go down and score, and then they tried a trick play at the end. Didn't quite work out as planned.
Those rivalry games are dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because they shouldn't have been in that game. Oregon State has a special running back. I can't remember his name right now, but that kid can run.
C.J. Verdell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's Oregon.
No,
Oregon State's
Oregon
guy.
State's.
Oh,
Last
yes,
name,
Jefferson?
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Yeah, Jefferson.
That guy can run. He's powerful, shifty, and he can go. But those rivalry games are dangerous.
Yeah. Everything goes out the door.
Yes.
Record, stats, 5 stars, 3 stars, 1. All of that goes out the door when it's a rivalry game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I love about college football. No matter who it is, you're on an even playing field. There's just something about it, man. You could be 0-5 and be playing 5-0, and it's your rival. Man,
Play out of your mind.
That's it, right? Like around here, what do they have? You got Olu. Who would be their rival? Servite, right? And you have Mater Dei and St. John.
Mm-hmm.
You have Pasadena and Muir, right? The old turkey tussle. The tussle
in the bowl, in the Bulls Bowl.
We had a couple of roommates that played at Pasadena, and I think they were over at the time playing Muir, and they took him down on the wire. I think Muir was undefeated at the time, so all those games, everything like that goes out the door when it's rivalry. So I really like obviously USC, UCLA. You got Notre Dame versus everybody. Right? They're independent. All right, they squeaked one out against North Carolina.
They're in the ACC this year, right?
Yeah. Well,
this season they're in the ACC.
Yeah, this season they're in the ACC.
Notre Dame looked really impressive in their win on Friday.
Yeah.
Like their defense stepped up in the second half. North Carolina has a powerful offense. They were moving down the field. It was 14-14 in the first 4 minutes of the game.
Right.
It was insane. And then Notre Dame really stepped up. I'm not a Notre Dame fan. My dad is.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, that defense impressed me. They can play.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can't stand Notre Dame, so
I
teams I can't stand.
I think the last couple of weeks we talked about Notre Dame and Ian Book, and again, just
he
just lights out. He just lights out. Experienced quarterback. Like we said, it seems like he's been there for 6 years, but you know, you see it in his play, just down the field. He's always making plays. He's just special when he's outside the pocket. He's just one of those guys that creates with his feet. So it's always tough on any defensive coach, any defensive coordinator. You got that X factor in a quarterback just like that. So it was pretty cool to see that again.
There were some big first downs that he took off, you know, and you think he's not going to get it. Next thing you know, it's first down marker right by there, boom, keep the drive going. So he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, I like Notre Dame. Watched a little bit of Notre Dame. I'm trying to think what else. Indiana.
Yeah, that's your
Impressive.
team. That's your bandwagon team.
That's the underdog. Well, I like to see the
on the Hoosier
I know.
wagon.
And Northwestern finally
I know
got
they're a
knocked off.
basketball school, right? Indiana's a basketball school. We all know that. But I watched a little bit of them last year and previous year because Kalen DeBoer was coaching there. He was the head coach of Sioux Falls. He's now the head coach of Fresno State. But yeah, you know what that program has done. You know, their quarterback's phenomenal. And he's a lefty, and I always talk about lefty quarterbacks because their ball spins different.
Is that Tua's brother?
No, he's Maryland.
Maryland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, two brothers.
He threw like 3
But
picks.
he's a lefty.
He's a lefty, yeah.
No, he's right-handed. The brother's right-handed.
Oh, the older brother's a lefty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Big
So there was
Tua.
an Indiana kid that's a lefty.
Yeah.
And I can remember I saw a lefty, but I couldn't remember who it was.
Yeah, I sometimes I talk about how the ball spins different, but people
It
don't.
spins. Yeah, it spins
People don't
different.
It does. It comes off this way instead of this way.
Yeah, so when kids are catching from a right-handed receiver coach, you know, and the ball spins this way, but the left-handed quarterback will spin this way.
So you need a left-handed receiver coach?
Yes.
I mean, someone to simulate it.
You got a left-handed quarterback, you got to fire your receiver coach. You're out. You're righty. Here, throw that. Can you
Which
throw
is
that?
weird because it does make a difference. We had a left-handed receiver coach at San Gabriel Buena Park, Matt Lopez, who coached with me for a long time. He was a left-handed. He's lefty, so he would throw the ball to our kids. Our quarterbacks are right-handed, and they'd always talk about like
How
the
it
different
spins?
spin.
Yeah.
I know that because I had at Dakota State we had 3 quarterbacks. 2 of them were right-handed, and our number 3 was a lefty. And I remember one time I always took it from the first guy. I was always the first guy in line. And one day my cleat was untied. Stepped out of line, tied my cleat up, got back in, and I happened to be like the number 3 guy in the line. Went with the number 3 quarterback, ran a speed out, and the ball came all weird. Skipped under my foot, twisted my ankle. I never forgot it. And I always used to tell
I hate lefties.
a left-handed
No more
quarterback,
lefties.
like, man, you out here skipping rocks, go home.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you gotta help out the left-handed quarterbacks with the left-handed wide receiver coach.
Yeah,
Get the left-handed ball machine.
Yes, yeah.
Spin the other one, the left-handed side, more than the other.
Yeah, because our guy at Orange, Dalen Pedrosa, is a lefty, you know.
Yeah.
Like, so you know, even when we do our drills, catching his pass, I'm like, whoa, forget you're left-handed. Or when I teach something, I'm over here teaching right-handed stuff.
Yeah.
So hold on, let me flip back over. Let me try to do this left-handed. Always strange, but you know,
Yeah, full work's different. Everything's different.
Yes, sir.
For work, yeah. Play calls, you know, trying to sprint them out to the right.
Yeah,
Not
turn his
gonna-
hips all the way around.
Not gonna work. Not gonna work. You just got to get more depth, and then you got to spin your hips around, and then you got to throw them around. It's hard for
Another impressive defensive performance I saw was Iowa State.
Iowa
State
put
over
it
Texas.
together.
Yeah.
They really held it together, and I'll tell you, one of the most disappointing looks I've ever seen on Coach O's face is when he walked up and saw my first defensive scheme. 3-man front, really, is what he says to me. Iowa State was running the 3-3-5, and they were bringing 3-man pressure, holding 2 linebackers, and because that guy was running, Texas was running and killing him, and they stopped it. It was
They had 2 spies.
2 spies,
Yeah.
locked him down.
Yeah.
They would send one occasionally.
What's his Erlinger?
Yeah.
The quarterback from Texas. Yeah, he would take off a lot. So
Yeah. I like the stacks look. I like the stacks.
I hate it.
It's tough, man.
Well, no, if you do it right, I mean, you got to
Yeah.
have athletes to do it, and you got to have some big pluggers with the 3.
Yeah.
You know, because one thing I
knows
always
gonna
didn't
be
like
a
about the
guy.
3-man front is when you have guys up and they're accountable for a gap, it's harder to get into that gap and stop it when you're standing up. That's just my thing. It's my philosophy. But I've seen teams do it, and Iowa State's doing it right now. There's some NFL teams that are pretty good with a 3-man front, so it's just my preference. Not I'm not going to hang my head on it.
Yeah.
I could be taught something,
I like a stack. When I was OC, I would always go against a stacks look, and it was always just tough. We were a zone team, so it was tough to run it, and we had to get out of that box, that 6-man box, and it was just tough to try and run against it. And then our defense coordinator was a 3-4 guy, so we saw it every single day. And you start to like it. You start to like it because you can play a lot of games. You can start to slant the stem, the ends and the nose, and play some games on the inside. So, I really like that. In a 4-3, you can do that, but it's just not as, I think, like just thinking outside of the box with 3-4. You have to be really, really want to be creative with it. If you want to bring some pressure, bring some guys from the perimeter and things like that. So I like it, and I like the rolling the coverage. Giving a too high look and bringing that safety down, playing the alley. So
some of the toughest teams I played against were multiple fronts. I mean, a lot of them were based though 3-3 stack. The 3-3 stack that kind of gave tougher angles to block people sometimes. But again, a well zoned team, I think. Really coached zone team can give that a little bit of problems, especially if you got a runner, right? Quarterback able to do some zone read stuff and kind of balance out the numbers a little bit. That's the key, right? Is making sure the numbers get balanced out. Because other than that, you don't got a runner, man. They're going against they're coming with they got an extra guy, and there's nothing other than like booting them or something like that to get outside of it. But always liked the coaches that do it well. Disguise stuff, bring guys different ways, slant, long stem, all kinds of crazy stuff. When we played Trabuco Hills a couple years back in the CIF semifinals, they did an excellent job of.
They were 3-3 too.
Yeah, the long stem brought guys from different places and just confused the heck out of our kids. And as much as we try to adjust, a lot of our guys are playing both ways, so. Adjustments are
halftime.
And if they get it, they get it. If they don't, try to you try to make it with play calls. But they did an excellent job, and that was probably the only team all year that really shut us down, and obviously ended our season that year. So
stupid stack.
That's how you get those big linemen away from those little linebackers.
Speaking a little bit more on the football side. There was Vanderbilt, Sarah Fuller.
Yeah.
Sarah Fuller, first female kicker in the Power 5.
I had images of her kicking off and putting it in the end zone. Then I saw her kick, and I'm like, no! That's what they did with her? The first female? They should have just had her bang it or hit it as deep as she... Somewhere she put on the 10. That little stupid soccer kick. And I'm like, no.
I know.
That's the highlight? Come on, man. I let her at least try to hit a line drive and hit a lineman in the back of the head or something. But that little, man, we could have done much better for that, for women's showing of football. So, I mean, I was kind of disappointed. I thought she was going to boom instead she kicked it really fast and ran off the field. I'm like, no, stay there. Get the safety.
Yeah, I wonder if they were just trying to get her to pooch it. And she maybe pooch it a little too far. It was a little too far.
You think a little adrenaline was pumping? It was an empty stadium. Can you imagine?
She did get coached up on the sideline after that. But I think it was a pooch that was a little bit too long. But yeah, pretty excited to kind of see that. There was 2 other female players that are in NCAA, and then there's Tony Harris. Tony Harris played at East LA Community College. She's now playing, I believe, at Northwest Missouri State. Division II safety. She plays safety.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Tony Harris. She's done some Nike commercials and some different things. But yeah, she's out of East LA Community College. And she's...
What high school is she on?
I got to look that up. I got to figure out. But as far as like female athletes breaking into football, I know that when I was coaching high school football, I had always had girls that would come out and let me play. I said, hey, I'm all for it. Come on out. We'll suit you up. Obviously, you got to go through the whole process of getting conditioned, but it's just they wanted to be out there, but when they got hit, it was then there was. Well, maybe I'd be better off just watching.
Could be the water person.
Just to be honest about, football is it's rough.
It's funny though that I think it's by so much football that's out there on TV and in high school and all the shows and movies about it. I think people are desensitized of how violent it is. Because if you think about it, like nowadays nobody wants their kids to play because of CTE, right? But a female that's a pretty good athlete and maybe one of the more aggressive ones, maybe plays soccer or field hockey, and thinks that they can transition. When somebody's coming at you, 220 pounds, doesn't put the brakes on and runs right through you, and you absorb that hit, and especially if you're not seeing it, like you get blindsided and you get leveled. There's nothing like that in sports. I mean, and it's legal. Well, now you can't lower your head, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you think about that when you take that hit, right? I mean, it breaks collarbones and it knocks people out. And I don't think there's any sport in the world that does that. Except the guys that jump out in those suits that fly and they hit the side of the cliff doing 150 miles an hour. That's
a good example of that is there was one of the TV sideline guys was holding and looking the opposite way, and right before halftime of the Utah-Washington game, guy hit him right in the legs, went down, never moved. He was completely knocked out.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have to know how to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, women's soccer, that is a rough sport too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, football gets a big rap for CTE. I've had more concussions from Friday Night Lights flag football than I have treated with tackle football.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people are unprotected.
Yes.
And then they go full speed and they're going after the ball and then their head, bump.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
That hurts.
It's rough. Sports, soccer, rugby, where there's a lot of contact, but you're not thinking because they're not wearing a helmet that it's not rough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, that's all those sports pretty violent. They would always talk about they had more concussions. He's right. They had more concussions in soccer than they did in football.
I think there's more injuries with skateboarders. Right? Broken
Wear a helmet, guys.
elbows, right?
Yeah.
Wear a helmet. Speaking of football, Fernandez, I know him as the fifth Fern. Andres is coaching at Hungary. So we got a former player, played for Jude. He's a coach in Hungary, and they won the Division I championship in the professional league in Hungary.
Is that the one where Arthur played?
That's one where Art played for the GUYS Sharks. Yeah. So they won it.
I'm glad you said that because I could never say that. It was like Gyro.
Gyro. It's Gyor, and then there's two accents over the Y, and so
I can never say it.
Gyor. I believe it's Gyor.
We're not going to argue with you.
Gyro.
We'll probably get some comments if it's wrong.
It's Gyr.
Yeah.
It's a small little village town, like it's an actual village town that you see on movies, right? So I mean, here we got city life, right? We don't see villages.
Yeah, secluded.
Secluded. So when you're driving into Hungary, it's like an hour and a half. You drive through Győr, which is a little village town, kind of people pushing wheelbarrows and cobblestone roads.
Old.
I'm like, whoa! I was amazed when I saw that. But yeah, they play professional football out there. And it would be comparable to semi-pro out here. That guys are still working their 9 to 5, and they want to continue playing football, and they're doing it for free. They're not making money.
So the sponsor, whoever sponsors, mainly just for uniforms and refs and stuff like that.
Refs, sponsors.
Do they got to drive themselves to an away game? Or
Yeah.
They play spot?
They get a bus sometimes. Yeah, they'll travel with a bus.
Nice.
So they have a little bit of what you need. It's not just completely independent. So. But it's not as popular because soccer is huge out there in Europe. But it's I think football is beginning to become popular in Europe. They have a lot of youth leagues, flag football, and then youth, 10U, 12U programs like that are growing. The sport's growing, and then now you see a lot more European athletes playing football in the States.
There's a kid that I guess just transferred into Santa Margarita from Austria.
Yeah.
So someone was telling me about him this weekend that he's giant.
6'7", 6'8", one of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So Austria has a good football league. Poland, Germany. They have a lot of really good popular American football leagues out there. So,
We've had a couple kids go out and play, right? Andres, Arthur, and then Cedric Ho.
Cedric Ho played out in Europe.
Who else has been out there? I think that was
a couple guys that I went to school with played out there. There's my old receiver coach. He coached at Munich for a long time, Munich, Germany. So there's, if you want an experience, you're not going to get paid a lot. All right, you're going to make a few bucks to pay some bills. They might have a bike for you. They might have they might have a cell phone plan, maybe a weight room. And they'll bring you food like once a month, maybe some groceries. But it's not even about the pay, because you're not going to get paid a lot. But the experience to go on, they'll call it a holiday. Go on a holiday, and jump on a train and then just travel through Europe. Go through Eastern Europe or go Western Europe and just experience, man. Just that piece. If that's gonna, football brings that to you, that's great. Because I have a nephew went through it. He just loved it that he was able to travel all over, and he would just call me as he's drinking a vino on the, on the water and somewhere in remote Hungary. Like, wow, this is something I would never see or experience, but my nephew gets to and talk about it. So, if you guys are looking on that, I think there's a platform called Podium.
Do they have a minimum of how many Americans can be on the field at a time?
I think two at a time. And then they mark your helmet with an A. so they know you're the American.
Captain America?
So they put stickers on.
So that's a bullseye?
So I think you can have 4 on the roster and then 2 playing at one time on the field. So those are the rules.
Yeah, if you're part of that Podium, you get emails and updates about, openings and coaching jobs and stuff. I know I get random emails on that platform.
Right. So Will Powell, if you're listening, we're going to plug in Podium here for the international players. But yeah, he's done a good job. Will has been all over Europe and then also down into Mexico trying to help recruit players to connect. Either American players going down and playing in Mexico or Brazil or Europe, and then also helping on the other end that maybe kids that might be looking at playing in the States. So
when I was in Florida, they had, obviously the Super Bowl was out there for Pop Warner. They brought in a team from Mexico as well and a team from Canada, and they were able to play each other there. So
kind of like Little League, right? Where they bring international teams.
Yeah, if they can experience that, that'd be cool. I know they get information on that all the time. We always think it's a scam or something, but
right? just give us your debit card number and your PIN.
It's like $5,000.
You give us 5, we'll give you 25. Oh, okay.
Well, good. Thanksgiving just passed, right? We had anybody play any turkey bowls, or we just ate the turkey?
Turkey bowls are
Turkey bowls, they're done. They're long gone. Nobody plays turkey bowl. Like, no, man, I miss turkey bowl. But Thanksgiving was good. A lot of people, family time, right?
We did a small family. Normally we have a really large family gathering, but with the COVID thing, it was minimized. But we got down pretty good. My uncle smoked a turkey, and it was incredible. He has some skills. And
Tell me about this smoked turkey. So, talk about the art of smoking any meats, right? Because it's not, you can't just throw it on the grill. And there's an art to it, right? You got to tell me about the art.
Absolutely. The preparation is the key, right?
Yeah.
So with the turkey, I'm sure we've all had dry oven turkey, right? You can't have enough gravy to wash it down with. Well, my uncle, he brined it for, I think, a little over a day. So it sits in a salt sugar bath, a bunch of herbs and spices, and then tucks a little bit of butter under the skin, and we throw it on his smoker, and I think cooked 2 12-pound birds in about 2 hours.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah, it was great, but it's so juicy, and there's so much flavor. I'll never have an oven bird again.
You can't go back.
No, you can't.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I keep trying to get my family to stop cooking in the oven and let's start smoking our meats or a deep fried turkey. Let's do one of those. But no, they're kind of they're okay with the oven because it cooks faster. They think. I think we cooked or smoked the prime rib and ribeye, and the prime rib we cooked for about 4.5, almost 5 hours, and then the ribeye was a little bit longer because it was like 10 pounds. And we smoked it, and I was trying to get my nephew to understand that it's an art. It's not. I didn't have like a Traeger or anything. I just had a smoker. We're putting the mesquite chips in, and then you have to keep it going, right? You got the art is to keep it at the temperature about above 200 around there, and you don't want to get too high. And then being able to just kind of move the coals around and throw more coals in and move them around and open up the vents and just kind of keep that going for 10 hours, right? And I said, it's an art, man. And they're kind of laughing at me, but I said, but that's my time to shine with the coals, right?
That's absolutely that's the art, honestly. Yeah. My dad says that all the time, where maintaining the temperature and doing it right. Yeah. He goes, I'm just going to get you an electric one.
Set it, forget it.
So I do cheat, but the food's fantastic. I'm not ashamed of that.
Yeah. Oh,
I still take credit. Yes, I smoked it.
Right. Oh, it was great. Just cutting pieces of that prime rib, and when it's quiet, nobody's saying anything. That's how you know
you
it's
did
the
your
best.
job.
Yeah, and they're just enjoying it, and this is part of Thanksgiving. That's like this is what it's about, right? It's bringing family together, hanging out, having a good meal. And before you all get back to the grind again weekly. So, we're going to introduce our guest here, Jay Stevens. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself, and then we'll get into talking about a little bit more football.
Well, thanks for having me. Again, Jay Stevens. I came out here and, for college, and after college started coaching some football. My little boy was 5 years old, and so threw him out there. I was
You're playing.
Yeah, I was a firm believer. We're talking about kids getting wiped out with big hits and stuff. I think a firm part of it is learning how to protect yourself to avoid those hits, know how to take those hits. So I was like, hey, let's go do this thing, and it was one of those things where everyone's looking around like, okay, so who's going to be the coaches? And no one raises their hands. And so, okay, I raised my hand. Okay, I'll help out. And now you're the defensive coordinator. Congratulations. And so that was pretty much it.
Take one step back.
Yes. Yeah.
So Jay, where'd you grow up?
So I'm from Washington.
Okay.
Grew up, played high school ball out in Ridgecrest for Burroughs High School.
Okay.
Ridgecrest, California. A little tiny Navy town out there.
Did Carson Swing, quarterback, come out of there?
Carson Swing.
Like quarterback at Wyoming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we would end up playing like a little tiny military town. We'd end up getting on a bus and driving down to Lancaster and Canyon Country, Saugus, all the big D1 schools is who we were playing every weekend. So I've seen what 4.3 speed looks like going by me. So,
and then you said you went to college out here?
Yeah, so I came out here, went to college. Luckily, got to do track in college, and I was a pole vaulter and did decathlon
at Long Beach.
Yeah, okay. Long Beach, and then so went through school and ended up tearing my hamstring and had to figure out what to do next. And luckily, love science, so I ended up going through a nursing program, and now I'm a neurotrauma specialist at Long Beach Memorial. So
I got to tell you, he's the best coach to have on the sideline. Kid jams a finger, kid's a whole, he's right on top of it. I'm sitting there throwing up on the other, and he's sitting there fixing it.
Yeah,
best coach to have on the sideline is a guy like this. And Eric, get out of the way. Here, give him some room. Here, let me fix it. I'll straighten it out. And your mom can take you after the game. Go back in there.
Yep.
Okay, and so now you're in your coaching.
Yes.
Right, Pop Warner, and you had a team that went out to the national championship, or
yeah. So I was lucky enough to have two boys, and I coached my older son. We started off at Lakewood, Pop Warner. We had a really good team there for a long time, and then Ken Harley over at Los Al was wanting a linebacker, and Coach O was in desperate need of a linebacker. So we went over there to help out this team, and I kind of left it up to him. I go, you're on a great team here at Lakewood. I go, or you can go over here and help develop a team and grow a team. And he goes, let's go give that a shot. So we went to Los Al, and 3 years of growing a team and building year-round, 7-on-7, everything. They ended up earning a trip to Florida to play for the national championship out there.
Wow. So they earn the trip, and you go down to Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a trip.
And then you play... and then you play down in SEC country. The boys grow a little bit bigger, stronger, faster out in that area.
So we were the varsity level is what we were called, the varsity level. We were all 13-year-old kids. We were playing kids out there that just finished their high school season and dropped down to Pop Warner because they were able to be 14 and 15 years old. One of them turned 16 and drove to the game. We were the first game.
Smoking a cigarette, shaving before he goes on the field. Who's that kid? Oh, he's got a uniform on.
Our first game was against a team from Florida, and that was eye-opening. It was they were pretty good. So they beat us, man. It was 13-year-olds versus men. And
they beat us. No score, just they beat us.
I don't remember the score, to be honest. I don't remember the score. But our second game was a team against Dorchester from New England area, Boston area, and I'll tell you what, they were way bigger than us, but they've never seen a pass in their life. Dylan Eldridge, our quarterback, I think had 5 touchdowns to Jackson Harley, and we just ate those guys up, and it was impressive. They couldn't stop that kid. It was amazing.
So you said, and I'm taking it back to you tore your hamstring, right? And then here we are, and this new age where like an injury wouldn't end career, right? So medicine has changed, football has changed, and all that. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because you're working in, the hospital, right? So you see a lot of that. How are the injuries changed, for kids, and how they come back faster and stronger?
Well, I mean, you look at like ACLs are probably one of the most common and scary ones we see right now. The surgery and the rehab is so much better. So now instead of when we're cutting into a bone or we're doing something like that, instead of cutting the entire muscle, we are able to move around it, use micro tools that aren't damaging other parts, so that rehab time and the injury recovery is so much better, so much faster. My dad just had a hip replacement recently, and he was walking that same day. So that just shows the old hip replacement, you were down for days and hoping to stand up in a week. Wow. And so now it's you're up and running.
I always think about Bo Jackson.
Man.
Right, his injury then, and then what it would be now, and if they would recover and be able to be back on the field.
Wasn't his similar to Kobe Bryant's injury?
Well, he had like Tua's injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kobe had Achilles.
Well, but he had knee issues too. Remember that he went to Germany, had the blood injections done, and helped his knee recover on that one off season. And so there's so much advances that are amazing.
Bo's hip was dislocated,
and
I'm not sure. I'm not. And then Tua had the same thing as.
And he played the next year.
Yeah, and then Bo was done. So like you can see how it's changed, from that time period to now. And I know there's a lot of coaches that played during that time period that always have big cuts, from like ACL or knee injury. That now there's little incisions, right? You go right in and scope it and clean it up. And so now what we talk about in the show a bit is like what football and sports is like when you were playing as to what it is now. And so is that do you think it's changed for the better, or is it still? We talk about being violent. Is it more violent?
It's when you talk about change. Change isn't always better, but growing up, I was a 2-sport athlete, and I heard you guys talking in your previous shows how you would go straight from football to basketball to baseball, and you basically never stopped. And so you were constantly cross-training different muscle groups and having a well-rounded body. Now we have kids that are training to be football players, training to be basketball players, and they're working one muscle group over and over. Look at these baseball kids that are getting Tommy John at 18 years old.
Right.
That's crazy.
It's a lot of innings.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of multi-sport athletes, just for the development of your body as a kid, the fun. It ain't all business yet.
Yeah.
But the upside to focusing is now you are special. You are really good. You're thinking faster than everybody else that isn't there. So it goes both ways. But I think the bottom line is, again, they're still kids. They need to have that off season. They need to have a different game where they can go and work their bodies.
Do we have more injuries now than let's say 20 years ago, 25 years ago, or is it?
I would say there's more diagnosed injuries.
Wrap it up.
Before run some dirt on it and just keep playing.
Yeah, I was telling my sons the other day. I grew up on a military base. All my coaches were Marines, and so it was rough.
Talk about sympathy.
You were tough if you didn't have a water break. Can you imagine? We'd go to jail if we did that now.
Right.
So I remember they would call water break, and we would sprint to the water. The first 2 guys that got there got water. Everyone else was thirsty. And so I made sure I was fast. I was getting there.
Right. So speaking of the Marines, so Bob Wiley, the Browns O-line coach, right? He says stretching's way overrated. Right? We won 2 world wars without stretching. It's like you think they were worried about running across Normandy with, and worried about stretching.
All bombs are going.
He's like, give me my rubber band so I can stretch and run across the freaking beach. Like, you got to be kidding me, right? So, and if my nephews were here, they would laugh because they use rubber bands for everything. They warm up. They're doing all the stretchy things, but yeah, it's funny to hear like the old school coaches are like, come on, man, we went to war and ran across beaches, and we weren't thinking about stretching or, doing.
They were on a troop transport, all shoulder to shoulder. That door hit that run. They weren't loose.
Right.
They were on that thing for a half hour or an hour. You know? And then it was life or death. It wasn't like, I'm going to pull a hammy and I'm not going to be able to make a play.
Right. The luxury of.
I like his terminology.
I always laugh about it because I just think about it. Guys tiptoeing, across the sand because they're not stretched yet.
I pull their hammy.
Good luck.
That's fight or flight, man. And all that adrenaline. You're stretched. You're ready to go, man.
And when bullets start coming at you, there's no I'm tight. Let's get the hell out of the way. That's funny. Some of the kids on that team are all in high school right now playing. You want to name some of those kids and tell us, where they ended up, who they were, and where they're playing at? Because I know some kids are at Bosco, some kids are at Olu.
I'll tell you, our team got picked apart.
Imagine if they'd stayed together.
It's starting to happen. But we had a couple kids, Jackson Harley and Logan Boer, go to Bosco. And I was just talking to the Bosco coaches the other day, and they gave a huge compliment to you, by the way. They said...
I don't even know.
Well, no, it started with you. They said, every one of your kids that have come here have been coachable. They don't try to argue with a correction. They say, yes, sir, how do we get better? And they do it. And that's a huge compliment. We have Nick Garcia. He ended up going to Olu. And he's... Nick Gallegos. Yeah, Nick Gallegos. He's at Olu. He's He was a little guy for us.
Did he grow?
He grew. He's came up and snuck up on me the other day and said, "Hey, coach." I'm like, "Who is this dude?" Right?
Beard, deep throat.
So it was great seeing him. So a couple guys after you came, Brian Gerardo, he ended up going to Mayfair, and he, as a freshman, got like league defensive honors or something as a freshman varsity. So he is now transferred over into Los Al. So Los Al's reaping a lot of the benefits that they probably should have kept home. But Dylan Eldridge, again, he's over at Cypress as a sophomore, took his team to CIF championship. I mean, great job there. There's
Harley?
Yeah, Jackson Harley, he's at Bosco as well. And he's playing nickelback for them. He's supposed to be the next man up. He's getting a lot of attention right now. He has a couple offers already. Lane Broderick, I believe that's his last name. He went to Mater Dei. Now he's back over at Los Al, and he's playing free safety. He's a monster. So there's a lot of special kids. Cezanne went to Bosco as well.
Is he still there?
No, he's back at Los Al now too.
You guys are getting some bounce backs.
There's a lot of dudes rolling into Los Al right now. So
what about Rocco? Where's he at?
Rocco's at Valley Christian. Rocco, I'll tell you, I mean, he is this little tiny guy, not much bigger than your kid over here. Like but he played with a heart. Oh my gosh. And I mean, some of the most smart football plays I've ever seen out of a kid. He knew he was going to out-jump that wide receiver, but he knew how to time the hit. And that guy would be coming down, and he would dislodge the ball. He was a
Or he would just pull it out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's running the other way. It's like, you stole that? Yeah, I was waiting for it to come down.
A great story about Rocco. I told my defense one time, I go, guys, I need a defensive touchdown this game. You guys, you get me a defensive touchdown, we're going to Sizzler.
Oh,
He picked the ball, and he's going down the sideline, and he points to me as he's running down the sideline and yells, Sizzler! And scores. The whole crowd is laughing. And my wife's going, she goes, you're going to Sizzler. So that was unbelievable. Yeah. I'm sure there's a bunch of other kids. I just blanking on them right now, but they are all over the place and they're doing their thing. It's so proud to see that, you know.
Cool. Well, and then they're all out of the Los Alamitos, like you.
Oh yeah. It was
their
not,
home field was Los Al.
Los Al. Okay.
Yeah.
It was not a built team. This was a team that grew together for over 3 seasons, practiced nonstop. I mean, give tons of credit to the parents. We would say, hey, we're going to do this 7-on-7, and they would be there. You know, so they were committed just as much as those boys were, and they worked. And those boys were never afraid to go up against anybody. I remember the first time we played, I think Linwood or somebody. That was the only time I think they were afraid. They were like, "Do you want us to go out there? Go out there." And they took some lumps, but after that they grew a lot.
So 7-on-7 is new for like the youth programs, but they're running, right? I mean, they're competing at 7-on-7 and
7-on-7 is great for the skilled guys. Coach and I don't love it so much for defense, but it has actually really paid off because we were able to work a lot of practice coverages. Like, I didn't go out to win 7-on-7. I went out there to let's work a skill. Let's do this. Let's mix coverages. Let's do these things, and it actually paid off because we got down to the Orange Bowl championship against Santa Margarita, and we ran a mixed coverage we never practiced. And I heard
From
you guys
7-on?
from 7-on-7,
Yeah.
and we ended up getting 3 interceptions, turned the game around, and won it in double overtime.
And that's the film they took against you. That 3-3 amoeba defense.
Yeah.
Amoeba
coverage.
Yep.
How has that changed football? You know, doing things like that 7-on-7, the training. You know, how has that changed youth sports? Because I don't remember doing any of that.
Yeah, only when football started is when 7-on-7 started for the summer, right? After you were in football. right?
Man.
But I mean, it wasn't like the off season or like
Well,
in
we didn't-
December, January, February where there was 7 on.
We never had an off season that like training. There wasn't any training or 7 on.
No, you were just in another sport.
It was Hell Week, and that was that was the beginning of football. Then.
Yep.
So there wasn't any. I don't remember doing any other training. Well, baseball, the winter baseball, but it wasn't training. It was games. We were just competing. But like the 7-on-7, we did that in high school. For the first time, was just our. Well, I guess sophomore, right? Your sophomore year. So you're looking at 94, 95. They had a 7-on-7, but now it's trickled down all the way down to the youth, right?
Oh yeah, you got little guys out there. I think 7-on-7 has really helped develop the passing game, and so you look at all the Southern California quarterbacks that are getting recruited across the nation. Yeah. I mean, 7-on-7 has really developed that, and the different programs out here, Stars, and all those different guys out here, Coach Frog, they've really put a lot of time and attention into developing quarterbacks, and so it's helped the passing game. It's helped a lot of that stuff. But from a defensive standpoint, I want to hit you in the mouth. And as
linebackers playing 10 yards deep, no.
And even in 7-on-7, if my linebacker's first step is backwards, I am losing my mind. Because I don't want them to learn
somebody
that.
is.
Yeah. Well, like when you go 7 on, like, doesn't it drive you crazy when those linebackers are dropping 15, 18 yards?
Yeah, I mean, we're running, cross. You have your slot guy crossing over, running an over route, and the linebacker's deeper than he is.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. I mean, if I wanted to, I'd just run draw on you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, but like you guys said, 7-on-7 does develop some skills. As a big pass guy myself, I don't like 7-on-7. People always ask me all the time. I mean, you see me at practice, I get bored when doing 7-on-7 because it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Not realistic. I mean, there are teams that work like it sounds like you guys have a good idea of what you want to do and make sure that you guys are working certain fundamentals, certain skills. I mean, heck, at practice, even when we do 7-on-7 at practice, I'll run one concept the whole time, just to make sure that we're working that stuff and looking to beat anybody. I used to tell our kids, and wherever I coach, we go to these passing league tournaments. I said the only reason we're going is 1, to compete, so you learn about competition. 2, I want to see who does what when it's third down, right? And those things.
Who's getting the alligator arms?
Who's going to make plays? I said, other than that, I mean, I care less about being a T-shirt champion. I want to be at the end of the year. I want to have an opportunity to try to compete for a ring or a league title or something. So the passing league stuff's cool. Just he said there's good ways to do it. There's bad ways to do it. And a lot of those programs, I think, as it gets more popular, you start seeing people do it just to win the
passing.
Yeah. So,
I think one of the most valuable things on 7-on-7, though, is I heard you guys talk earlier on your previous show that you would go and grab a kid from this city or this city to kind of come play with you so you'd have a better team. It kept our boys together as a team, and they weren't getting picked by other clubs. And then people saw what we were doing. They're like, I want to go be a part of that. And so it was a natural draw for people. So we were able to keep them together as a team, and they really became tight friends. And so even though these boys have gone to different high schools and they're achieving, they still get together all the time.
Right.
And they're buddies, and so that's really cool to see.
And how'd you create that? Just keeping them together, because that's what's tough around the area.
Yeah.
The parents, there's parents shopping kids around, and how do you keep?
I think Jude had three shops a week.
What do you do? Like team building activities. What is it that?
Yeah, I have to give a lot of credit to the head coach, Ken Harley. Ken Harley, he really wanted to create an environment, and Todd Eldridge and these guys, they really created team. And so, hey, let's go do a pre-Super Bowl Sunday 7-on-7 game against ourselves. And then we're going to go to my pool, jump in, barbecue, and we'd all just hang out together. And so it was tight. And so it's effort. It's commitment, and the coaching staff but again, the parents buying in and wanting to be a part of it.
Well, that's like what you built with your booster club, huh? Because you guys did a lot of activity and stuff that wasn't, just about, it was the football family or the football team and the family of the team, right? But it was everybody that was involved with it, correct? It's basically what you're doing is you're developing that community.
Yeah, just keeping it in the family, and also making people feel part of that family, like you said, is inviting those people that kind of look like they want to be a part of it, they're not sure, they don't really know what to expect, is making them feel welcome too. You do that, I think, like I think I told you last time, my purposely was the moms, right? The moms are the ones that love the most. So like everybody felt love when they came into our program. Me, I was a head coach, so sometimes I had to be, the jerk and
disciplinary.
Yeah, so sometimes people were a little bit less likely to come talk to me as opposed to my wife, who was one of the top people on the booster. So we would do things like that purposely just to make sure it felt welcome. One of the coolest things we did, and we had just like you guys, we had a family barbecue before we kicked off. So we'd have it every year. It was a family barbecue. I made all the kids had to do by their grade levels. They had to do the skits and things like that. One thing I can't remember, trying to remember if I exactly, because I would like to give them credit for it, what program I got this from. But we took this, I had went to a clinic, and again, I'm upset because I can't remember exactly who I got this from. They had very similar, everything was very similar to what I was doing already. But they had a chance where at the family barbecue, they already had spoke to the parents and the players. We used to have a sleepover. So that was right before the barbecue. So I would tell the players, they get the information last minute. So the players had to write a letter to their parents and let them know how appreciative and how much they appreciated and loved their families and their parents for what they did. And I wanted to talk about it last week when you had mentioned about your father, because it reminded me of that. So having that letter, they would write it, and I would tell the kids, now make sure this thing, I don't want this thing to be like just a Valentine's card. Hey, I love you. You know what I mean? Tell them how you feel. Tell them how you feel about them. How appreciative you are, because they're sacrificing for you to do this, whether that's money, time, whatever it is. They're sacrificing for your life. So you guys are going to write this letter to your parents. Now, I didn't tell them, but a month earlier I had a parent meeting. When I had the parent meeting, I had told the parents about this, and I told the parents, hey, and of course I usually used to talk to the moms, but if a dad was there, I'd let them know too. I want you guys to write them a letter. You guys are going to present this letter to them at the barbecue. No one's going to read it, just your kid and you, but we'll know what it says. We won't know. I said, but don't do me a favor. Don't be one of those kids that don't do your homework, because you don't want your kid to be the only kid on our team that don't get a letter. So they kind of put pressure on the parents to remember. So we would do that, and then right before we would end the barbecue, I had first time I did it, we had the parents and the players swap letters, and both of them didn't know they were going to give each other a letter. So they did that, and that was probably one of the best things I ever did in the program, because you got to see the heart of there's some parents that didn't even know their kids loved them, and vice versa. The kid didn't know how much the parents looked up to him for sticking through 2-a-days in spring and being on time and doing these things. So to see those things happen, and then to see the family environment just continue to grow. Once we did that, it was kind of every year everybody kind of expected something like that as a family, and we would have parents that would come and that were super involved, and they expected something like, hey, what's going on with San Gabriel? We want to make sure that that family environment's still there and have that. So that's and those are the things I remember you were talking about earlier before we got on. You were talking about your two sons, different teams. There are you've been a part of teams where you're really good because you have a lot of talent. It might not be a very good team. They're very good. They're talented. Then you have those teams like the other team where that's family, the philosophy, everything's together. So you have to say much. You can overachieve with less talented players and things like that. So I think that's where you build those things, and that's where you see those differences.
Yeah, I think that's the secret sauce that football and sports don't really understand, that aren't consistent winners, is that they don't understand that community. Because to me that was a big part of making a team. Like one of the questions you guys asked me was, when did you know we were going to win? I said, the sleepover up in Big Bear.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with being on the football field. It was how I saw you guys interact with each other, and you could see the love, and it's a tough macho sport that we play in, but you got to care about the guys you're playing with, and you saw it, you guys lived it, you guys nurtured it and cultured it, and then the result was a championship team, Same thing with you, you had the parents, actually directly get involved with their kids, and that's what nurtured, that family and that tight-knit community where everybody didn't want to let anybody down. I mean, that's how you win in sports. It's the teams, and talent gets you so far, but it's that extra step, that extra layer that a lot of people don't know or think about. You think about some of these NFL teams, and one of the NFL teams and one of the owners that, to me, doesn't get it, and that's the Washington Redskins, or the Washington Football Club, or whatever they're called nowadays.
Oh, Snyder!
Yeah, that owner, Dan Snyder, is an idiot. He thinks by just getting the best athletes and throwing them on the team that they're going to win, and they don't win that way. And one of the first time I really realized, how he wasn't a really good owner was when Spurrier, when he hired Spurrier out of Florida. Now, Spurrier, to me, is one of the greatest offensive minds ever to coach in any level of football. And watching his concepts, everything that he did back then are still popular today, and people still use it today. And when he went there, and he couldn't do what he needed to do because the owner wouldn't let him do it, and he didn't have that football, family feeling, he got out. And to me, it's like if Spurrier doesn't feel it or see it, something's wrong. And so, a lot of these teams that they fire coaches like Detroit Lions just fired, their coach. Yeah, and I always say that's why I wore that Steelers shirt that one time. I love the Steelers because the Rooneys, they've had 3 coaches since the '60s, 3, and they got Chuck Noll has 2 rings, Cowher has a ring, and Tomlin has a ring. Yeah. They win, and every decade they win. And they got these other owners, that stupid Jerry Jones that, he fired the best coach in the NFL because of ego. Yeah. But, it's that camaraderie and that it's that level that I don't think people understand.
Right. And that formula, we always talk about the winning formula, right, to coaching. And I think about that Big Bear trip, and I think about, how we were all together, but it was like what led us to that point, to a breaking point, to get along or not get along. And we had gone on that that trip, the back road hike.
Oh my God!
Right,
I read that story, by the way.
Yeah. So we went on this hike, and we Coach. I remember the funniest part was Coach Curley had this Nissan Sentra, right? But we were like four wheeling. We were in dirt roads, and his little Nissan was, just kind of zipping over the rocks. And
I think there was 7 people in the car.
And Brady was driving the Land Cruiser. We were with Brady. Oh. Were you in the Brady's vehicle? And, we were having a good time, and Brady likes to drive fast and have a good time. And we ended up going over this hill, and it was sandy, and we just spun out, and we tipped. We tipped.
I'm glad I didn't
see that. You weren't. There was nobody around us. We actually stayed back purposely
to do that. And I'm trying to I'm in the middle. How are the guys up front? How are the people in my mirror?
How can that just wreck the team building part, right? Because we did our own thing. Think about that piece, right? If we would have rolled,
lost our quarterback again.
The tragedy, right? That's tragic.
I would have been in jail.
Right. And we're not thinking about those things. What you're trying to do. We're not thinking about those things. But at the time when it happened, we spun out. We almost tipped over, and I remember. I was holding on to the oh shit bar, we're about to tip over, and we don't tip over, and we're just like, oh man, what the?
Talk about Joe.
You're like, you were scared.
And we had those things in common now that we could talk about and laugh and joke, and that brought camaraderie to just that small group of guys that I knew. I knew Brady, but I didn't know him, and I knew Jude. Who else was there? Kenny? Was he in there?
Probably Kenny.
I think Kenny was on that Windows side. And we had all come from different schools, and we went to school together, but we just didn't really know each other like that. And I think about some of those things that you were trying to build, but we weren't following suit till after. Then we kind of finally got it right of like bringing us together, and then we got back. Right. Oh, and we got to the hike. We won't talk about the hike, but
the hike was fun.
Yeah, it was a nude hike.
That wasn't by your choice.
But we weren't.
No, not us.
We
it's
were
optional.
Yeah.
Totally optional.
Well, we
didn't know. We were.
We had no idea.
We were going to these hot springs, right?
And we like, what the heck is that? A bear? Is that? What's going on? Walking towards us. But yeah, when all of that was done, right? It was like 2.5, 3 hours of switchback getting to the hot springs of where we actually made it to, right? During that whole event. And then that was over. And then we didn't go back in the same direction we came, we actually just went right around the corner, and it was like a 10-minute drive. It was just like, remember, we just right around the lake, and we were back at the cabin. It was like, we could have done this the whole time. We didn't have to go 2.5 hours, 3 hours, in this bumpy roads and almost crashed and killed ourselves. Like, we could have just drove 20 minutes to get to this hot springs.
That's rolling the dice of team building right there.
That was just...
Oh, I didn't know I was being led by my guys. A friend of mine,
But,
So.
that was, the thing, when you go back, we talk about it, and we have a common... thought process now of doing that for our kids, right? Team building, bringing them together, doing something out of the ordinary, doing something that they've never done. I've never been to Big Bear growing up. Go to the mountains and hang out, or a cabin trip. That's something they do now, but it was we weren't doing it before. And so those things I always remember and cherish, and I share with my kids, and I also try to do the same thing for them. Just something out, whether it's a sleepover, writing letters, to parents. I mean, that's the thought process. It's not just a whim, You can't just be like, oh, man, here's what we're going to do today. No.
You got to plan it.
You got to plan it. You got to, really plan it.
You can't have someone go for a swim and not have any food. You got all these football kids. They're going to want to eat,
And that's just the preparation piece of it is really important. You're preparing, you're teaching your coaches to do that, you're teaching your players to prepare.
You got to have cash to make sure you got enough food and drink for everybody. And I mean, and a football team isn't, like a baseball team. Baseball team is 12 guys, right? A football team is 40, 30, 40, 50 guys. You got to, I mean, that think about feeding 40 mouths, take them to a restaurant. If you had to pay for the bill of the restaurant for 40 people, what's that going to cost you? $1,500? Oh, you want a tip? Right? And so, I mean, think about, people don't realize when you do stuff in football, man, it's costly. It's costly.
Yeah. Jeez, you have 100 guys on the roster, man.
Yeah.
That's why.
And you got linemen.
That's like feeding 3 in 1.
Exactly. And one of my favorite things on that is when we did the overnights and when we did those team building things was we always had a talent show. I always enjoyed watching the talent show, and sometimes they would make fun of like the coaches, and so you get to kind of see how you're looked at by your peers, by your kids that play for you. And like, I guess I was more of a screamer, with you guys than I am now. And so a couple guys would go up there and they'd put a skit together, and it would be like a scene out of one of our practices when I jump someone's ass, And I just sit there, and I would just sit there, and I'd laugh. I thought it was funny, right? But it actually, gave me a, oh, okay, so that's how they see me, and sometimes, when you're younger, you can't help it, like you don't know you're building your reputation, so you just, you fly off the handle when you fly off the handle, or you get in someone's face, or you're pissed off about something, you just blow up, and the F-bombs come out, right? But then when I started doing those talent shows, and I'd see the kids like do a skit on me, I'd feel this big sometimes, thinking, fuck, that's how they see me. Like that's what I walked away with, where it helped me grow myself. Even though it was funny and everybody's laughing, I'm looking around going, shit, I'm the butt of this joke, And like sometimes I'd have my whistle when we were doing up downs. They'd do the up downs and the other kids were doing them, and then they would be faking like they were doing them, and they were all laughing, showing how I would watch them and wait for them to get up, and I'd stand right over them and look at them like, oh man. That's what I look like. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's part of also the team building, and sometimes the funniest guys are the ones you don't even know are funny. until that happened, or they have the strength or the fortitude to go up there and want to put on, they're just like, God, that kid can act.
Yeah.
We are in Hollywood, right?
Yeah. Did you ever get? You said you feel that a little, but would you get mad?
Not on those nights, because on those nights I knew that it was talent. You guys can make fun of coaches, you can make fun of other players, you can make fun of situations, and then some guys would just like take a comedy skit from someone they saw on TV. My name is Billy Bob Doe, I play tight end, and they would just imitate a skit. But I wouldn't get mad on that. I would enjoy it. I kind of unplugged, out of coach mode, and unplugged, and just hey, we're in a different environment,
Yeah.
I can't get mad.
Coaches, don't
get mad, coaches. I did have a list of up downs after. When we got back, okay,
I'm gonna get that guy.
Yeah. Oh, we would have that, the skits and everything. Yeah, coaches. Every player in America has mocked you in the locker room in some way, right? So, yeah, and it's good and it's fun, and it's good for the locker room. So like, yeah, and they do it out of love. They do it because they care, and they're actually watching you. Think about it, right? Like you said, they're watching you. They're watching your every move, your every step. What you say and how you react. They even have. I think they showed on ESPN a couple weeks ago. Some of the players are doing post game speeches from their coaches, right? And they're talking like their coach and giving their quotes and everything. So it's done in every single locker room, guys. So it's good for the group of kids to do that, and that's the team building. I know I've been part of some programs that haven't done anything like that, team building. They're just kind of football, and I think that gets a little old too. You need to break it up. You have to break it up. You have to break up because there's times there can be frustrations and a lot of tension, and times like that, team building, it just breaks it up. For a lot of that, it teaches the kids how to get over it, move on, not get upset, not get caught up emotionally a ton. I'm not saying don't get emotionally involved, or invested but just know that football is a grind, and your kids need a break. They need that mental break. Have fun. They need to enjoy it. It's not be a job for them.
It becomes a job in college.
It's a job in college.
In high school, it should still be kind of fun.
Right.
Instead of that football factory.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's this football schedule, right? Some guys lifting at 6 a.m. Maybe
start class. Yeah.
Start class at 8. You have 8 till noon, and then you have your lunch. Then you have maybe a tutor session. Then you have football meetings at 3 o'clock. Then you're on the field at 4. You don't get off till 6:30. Then you have your meal, right? Then you have study sessions or tutor sessions or whatever set up 2 hours a day and 10 hours a week. And then after that, then it's by the time it's 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then you still have homework, 2 hours of homework to do on top of that.
Then the alarm goes off at 5:30, and you go lift at 6.
Right, and that's every day. There's no off season.
And do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like work.
Yeah.
You got to work a schedule.
So you got to be able to take those breaks and unplug, even as players. Unplug. Do those things that just kind of, like you said, just take a step back and relax, play some video games.
Earlier, you asked how things are different between like back in the day and now.
Right.
And I think the kids being able to make fun of you and laugh at you shows a level of respect. And I think that's big. When I was a kid playing, again, you had to respect your coaches. That was an expectation of where I grew up. It was like, you don't earn it, it's given. That's it. Nowadays, I feel like you have to earn the trust and the respect of the players. And that is a totally different environment. So going out there and showing them what it's all about and everything. So allowing the kids to laugh at you, I think that shows that they respected you at that point.
They do. No,
well, I think
agree.
Yeah, I think the process. I was talking to Jude about this the other day. The process now is taking a little bit longer than a season. it's taken a 2-3 year process for.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, as opposed to like when you step into a program with Tom Osborne, like he had the respect. You already knew who he was. You knew what the expectations, what you were stepping into, right? And because maybe I don't know if there's a lot of movement or what it is with high school players, but it's not a 1 season thing. It's a whole developmental piece, 2-3 years before you earn that respect, from a player and vice versa. Even a coach to. A player, that maybe has been to 3 different high schools, and here he plops into our program, because he can play. Should anything be given to him? Absolutely not. There should be that earning process, and what does that take from a player? How long does he earn the trust from from the coach to,
and the team,
and the team,
yeah,
right? And if that doesn't happen.
It's not a good fit.
Not a good fit. And maybe the kid leaves and he's at his 4th high school in 3 years. And so that part of that process, right? So now it's like I said, it's taken longer. And I think for you, Coach, and when you had those kids for 3 seasons, and you're coaching us for 2 seasons, it took probably the 2 years, and even beyond that, to gain trust and just know that like getting the common denominator of football has done it for us. That was it. If it wasn't for football, then I don't know. Would our paths even cross? Right? Paths don't cross. And I don't learn all that I did. From you, Coach, and and then same thing on Jude's side. If it wasn't football, I don't know if I'd be hanging out with Jude. Because again, everything we do right now is football based, or has always been. He's been coaching different places, and I'd call him up and say, "Hey, here's what I'm doing." He'd do the same. Football has kept us, connected. So, I always tell students or tell kids or families that like football's got to be the tool. It's got to be the tool to get you where you need to get to. Life after high school, life after football. Because it ends. And it's some sooner than later, and it's not going to be forever. And I think the percentage is like 0.001% of high school seniors go on, to continue, right? So it's like, well, what next? What do they do? How do they figure out, the direction, path to head into? So I know we talked a little bit about that, Jude, of like, creating the leadership. You asked me earlier about the tie.
Yeah.
Putting on ties, that's all part of it, right? That's all part of the program, and what we do for kids. So,
well, I think that's a huge part. Is a lot of people don't want their kid to play football because of the risk of injuries and things like that. There's risks at everything we do, but the arena of football, teaching these kids how to be men through the arena of football, learning how to be coachable. If you're not coachable, you're not hireable. And so when I hear Bosco and these other schools say, "Hey, you did a great job with these guys. They are coachable kids," I'm like, I did my job. I'm not training these kids to be, high school studs, college studs. I hope they can become that if that's what they want. I want them to learn how to be men. And if I do that, then man, I did the right thing. I feel, winning games, that's always more fun than losing, but the biggest lessons will often come from losing, and just that desire for someone to work harder and persevere. And you look at a lot of kids nowadays that want to be freshman starters on varsity.
They're upset if they're not.
Yeah, and they're upset. And I mean, I won't lie. My son, he's a junior outside linebacker at Los Al, and there's 3 seniors in front of him. The only 3 seniors on the defense. And he's out there scrapping. And he actually came to me. He's like, "Do you think I should transfer?" I go, "No, you should go work and take one of their jobs."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he has been in the weight room. He's lifting. He's eating. I mean, he's doing everything he can, and he's making headway. And the coaches notice. So I'm proud of him for that.
Yeah.
This kid's a hitter.
Yeah, you know it's going to be.
He can hit.
It would be funny if they went to a 3-4.
Yeah.
But add one more linebacker position.
He's like, man, I worked out to beat someone out in a 4-3, and then we go about 3-4. Oh, you kidding me?
Maybe you need to work on getting the DC fired.
There you go.
Yeah. No, stick it out, guys. Stick it out, guys.
Hey, orange isn't too far.
There's something to it. All right. There's something too with sticking it out. Too.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I have a nephew. That you look at his transcripts. He has 4 or 5 different high schools. Man, I've talked to him about the commitment because he's now in his first year. And there's always that growing pains in the first year as a freshman. You're scared, you want to leave, you're away from home, you're homesick. Man, get through that first year. Get through the first year. I promise you'll survive the rest of the rest of the year.
You'll acclimate. You'll become accustomed to what's going on. Because it's all new.
Yeah.
Well, did you want to share your story, how I got you to South Dakota?
All right. Here's this.
Because I knew.
Here's the story.
If I gave you a round trip ticket, you would be gone in 2 weeks or a month.
So my journey, right? Went to College of the Canyons, went to Glendale. I had already transferred, right? One school. I bounced around community colleges, right? And now here I am looking to transfer to a third school, right? So there's when you think about it, I'm not doing exactly what I was telling the kids not to do now. It's like commit. So as I'm going through the recruiting process out of Glendale Community College, Coach John Scudo was helping me get out, and Sid Stark and those guys were helping me connect to schools, and Glendale was helping me connect to schools, and I know Coach Orona had done this for other players, so I had reached back out to him, and I said, I'm looking to transfer, and so, this was back in 90 or 2000. It was back in 2000. And so Coach Orona was like, yeah, meet me at my place, and we'll start sending out mailers, right? So
before email,
which actually email was around. It's 85.
I didn't have it.
VHS
I had AOL.
we had AOL. We had VHS tapes. We had letters and stats and old newspaper clippings. And so Coach was like, find 40 schools. So we began finding.
Money you waste doing.
I know. So we have, 40 schools. There's envelopes, right? So I'm writing out to all the schools, and there's just book that you get from the AFCA convention that has all the schools' addresses, what division, enrollment, tuition. It's the book that you can get. And so I'm just looking at schools. And so as like community college, Glendale was helping me with recruiting. Coach Orona is helping me out with recruiting. And so his contact was on the mailers, right, that we had sent out. And I don't know if all 40 of them went out. Like I said, it gets expensive, right?
I sent all 40.
And there's, I know the recruiting process, there was like a lot of Midwest schools. Hastings College, Dakota Wesleyan, North Dakota State. And then here in California, we had like Laverne and Cal-Lu and Humboldt, and so all these schools were like interested, right? But I needed to have 48 academic units to transfer. I had 45. I was missing a math class, so all the schools were telling me, "Hey, take this math class. It'll 3 units get you to 48, and then you can transfer in the summer." And so Coach Orona was, he's at this point he's on the phone with the coaches, and they're, Rod Olson gets connected to Coach Orona, and Rod Olson is he's a life coach he's out of Denver now, and he's a guy when he steps in the room, and I'm not mocking you, Coach, but
it's out of respect.
Yeah, out of respect, he takes command of the room, like, "Hey guys, you better check your ego as you walk through this door." Yeah, that's him. That was a big personality, and so like he gets on the phone with Coach, and Coach got a big personality. So these guys are having their conversation, and next thing I know, Coach Orona calls me and said, "Hey, you're going to Dakota Wesleyan." I said, "What?" I'm like, I got these other schools. Like, he's like, "No, you're going to Dakota Wesleyan." All right. So this was in December, and they wanted me to transfer up in January. And so we made the decision right before Christmas. Hey, this is where I'm going. And Coach O says, "You know what? I got you, man. I got you a one-way ticket to Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
It's chilly up there.
I knew that. I didn't tell him.
And the reason why we're talking about this because as soon as it happened, right? So I left January. I think it was like January 7th, right? So I get on the plane. I remember meeting my receiver coach at the airport and connecting the airport in Denver, Dave Camara. We fly into Sioux Falls, and the wrestling coach, Coach Shadwinkle, he picks me up along with some wrestlers and my best friend Osaro Kyles from Monroe, Louisiana. Right, stuffs us all in this Buick car, and I don't know anybody. And in that car, Justin Portnier's in that car. He's ends up being a wrestling national champion at the NAI level. Osaro ends up being a national champion with the Sioux Falls Storm. And so I had these guys, the characters that I met, and we drive to Mitchell, where Dakota Wesleyan's at. And I don't know, I have no idea where I'm at. I've never left. I've been to Vegas, Laughlin, TJ. I've been, Rosarito.
Just all around Southern Cal.
Yeah, just all SoCal, right? I never left, aside from Texas, but it's just you have family there. So I here I am in the Midwest, and they had just got done with the blizzard, so there's a foot of snow piled around. It's cold, and I remember getting my bags. They checked me into the dorm, and I zip open my bag. And I got some loafers, some Dockers, a polo. I said, "What the hell is this?" And I started looking for my bed sheets. I started looking for my pillow and all the comfort things, right? And I ended up taking somebody else's luggage. So there I am in the dorm with no bed sheets, no pillow, nothing. I slept on my book bag on the first night in my coat, right? In my coat, and I was just thinking on my bed, like, man, I hate it here. I'm out of here. But I had a one-way ticket. I had no way of getting back. I had no money in my pocket. We didn't come from much money. And so I couldn't just jump back on a plane or. These guys had talked about taking a bus, but that's a 3-day trip from South Dakota to California. I said, I'm not doing that. And so I hated it. I wanted to leave for that entire semester. I wanted to go. But, you look at the big picture, right? The decision you're making, like what it's going to do for you and your family. And I ended up, sticking it out. I ended up meeting a lot of guys that I'm really good friends with now. I've been in their weddings. Been to funerals. I've been to their birth of their son or daughter. I've been to their football games, their kids' football games. My buddy Osaro, I talked to his kids the other day on the phone. Things like that wouldn't happen if I was just real quick and ready to jump ship. And so that commitment piece, having to commit to Dakota Wesleyan, who at the time was only 1-9, and we ended up 2-8 the next year, and then 3-7 my senior season, and the next year they went 6-4. That piece, the commitment piece, has been huge because when I've got out of school, the reason why a lot of people hire me or recruit me for a job is because of my commitment to the university, or committing to my degree, or committing to my my studies. Like, that's one of the main reasons, because we know you've committed to 4 years of school. That's why we're more interested. Mm-hmm. And I never saw it like that. I have all this information. Like, I got this degree. They're like, well, your commitment is really what we want. I said, wow. And so that's really important when I'm talking to the kids, teaching the kids, is the commitment, sticking it out, gut it out, and things will fall in your direction the way they're supposed to. Don't have any regrets about it, even if you don't win. Because that's what everybody's looking for, right? They're looking for that win.
Yeah. Right?
To be on the team so they get the win. But, like I said, my nephew went to a team that won, but, his college coach looking at his transcripts, or Nick Saban's looking at his transcripts, and he bounced around. He's like, he said it, he's vocal about it. Like, I don't want those kids, that have been at 3 different high schools. Mm. And so, stick it out, man. It'll pan out the way it's supposed to. I believe it,
Absolutely.
Don't think about you're going to go on the 7-on-7 team and get yourself an offer because little Johnny has an offer. You keep working hard. If a coach notices you, again, college coaches do their job. you know. And I know a lot of kids used to go unnoticed, you know, but nowadays, yeah,
Sorry.
it's
Too much information.
it's all there, man. One click of a button, you can get a Rolodex of 500 kids, you know, that you're looking for. Before it was
with
like
film.
with film. Before it was like getting those mailers with the VHS tape, popping it in. It's black and white. And
Squiggly lines.
squiggly line.
You don't know who's who.
Yeah.
You're like, what am I
Tiny
watching?
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got from that commitment piece. And when I coached college football and I recruited, I used that the same thought process with the kids. Man. I was like, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? You want to bounce around? When they try to leave school, I'm telling them just kind of the same thing, man. You committed here. I also thought the kids that were looking at our school, the kind of the same idea of my story, how I ended up. And there's a lot of kids from Southern Cal that went to Dakota Wesleyan and graduated and now are back here, in the workforce and contributing and they're family men and they have children and every now and then, get a call or just to see how I'm doing, but that's all part of it. And that validation, coach, you said you don't know about it. You work with these kids for 3-4 years, but the validation doesn't come until 5 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Of like, oh yeah, here's the coach telling you've done a great job, and then you send the message down to the other coaches. And so I guess that's the big piece, for me is there's no gratification, there's no instant gratification for what we're doing as coaches.
It's a long haul.
It's a long haul, right? It's a marathon. So, well, Jay, thanks for coming on out.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
And just chopping it up with the regular guys here out of La Mirada Studios in LA County. We're still LA County.
Yeah.
Where's that? We're 2 blocks away from
Two.
Orange County.
From the good LA County. We're on the edge here. But yeah, you got any last words?
Yeah, I just I owe Coach O a lot, like as far as being a mentor and coaching, and I'd say any coaches out there that want to like go to the next level, find a mentor, find someone that's going to challenge your thinking. And I think one of the biggest things he ever taught me about defense was don't think about the position, think about the kid. And so what can the kid do? Put him in a position to be successful. And so when I changed my defense from yours, that was one of the biggest things. And so yeah, thanks for investing into me and helping me be a better coach. That's huge.
All right.
I love coaching with them.
Yeah.
Then when I was done with them, and then I watched them continue to win and just continue to be better, it was really gratifying to see them be successful. I enjoyed watching you guys.
All right. Good. Jude, you got a thing?
No, man. It was great having you, Coach. Like I said, some of those names, recognize some of those names now that they're in high school doing good things. We'll keep our eye out to make sure we watch those kids continue to grow and do their thing. I know that Jackson Harley named pretty well, so I'll be looking out for him and see where he ends up going to college and those things. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story. It's awesome to see how even in this small setting and just getting to meet you, how we're still all kind of connected. So it's pretty cool. Thank you again. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Jim. All right. And we're out.
Drop the mic.
Dude. Oh, I didn't record.
Again?
That was
That'd be bad.
that was